Trial Tuesday once again. Today we're tackling the sometimes controversial topic of stun guns and how they're used in law enforcement. David Aylor, a guy who always leaves his opposing counsel on the ground convulsing, in the courtroom of course, joins us right now to discuss. Counselor, welcome back to the show. Of course, lately Isle of Palm's been making some headlines because they just got the ability to have those stun guns when enforcing the laws.
Right, which a lot of times as you see is grants, or sometimes the council in small municipalities or the counties will allot a certain amount of money for it. And it actually is something that really is beneficial to the public. The stun guns help a lot of times in regards to various situations where there is some force needed, but it doesn't have to be lethal force.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's talk about some of the problems that can come from these things, though. People with unknown heart conditions, or sometimes people, they get zapped with these things and they fall on the ground and hit their head. That seems to be kind of the bad side, the downside of this thing. Have you represented anybody that's been kind of against these things, and how do you think it plays out with the legality of them?
Well, I've definitely represented some people that have been tasered before and felt like it was inappropriate or misconduct in the sense that it wasn't deserved, and then there was some sort of physical result from it. But like you said, a lot of times when people are hit with these things, they then hit the ground fairly hard. And that situation is really going to be subjective to really what occurs in that one incident. Essentially what I'm trying to say is they have to determine whether or not the officer was using excessive force or he or she was, it was justified in their actions to actually use the stun gun.
Is there a uniform kind of definition for use of force when it comes to a stun gun or a pepper spray or something like that, or does it vary by department and municipality?
I think the answer to that is probably yes and no. There's a lot of training that goes on with things like the tasers, as well as of course pepper spray, but ultimately when it comes out and how they're going to use it is going to really be within the moment. So there's not going to be a certain wrong or right way. Clearly there's a lot of things that would make it very inappropriate and misconduct to the point that that person could be criminally charged, the officer of course. But one thing is important to understand, that when they do use the taser, they actually have to write a report up similar to just when they discharge a firearm.
Sure.
So it is something that they clearly review.
Is there any difference as well? There are different models of stun guns, of course, taser being a brand name of one of them. Some of them that you have to actually touch somebody to get it. The other ones you can actually shoot those two little darts into somebody. Is there different rules regarding those two things?
You've seen that in the movies, I think.
I have.
Well, no, essentially you just have to look at what the voltage is. There's different powers and just similar to guns. So it's just going to be a determination on that and when you're going to use them. The ones that you shoot out are obviously going to be for people that are maybe a lot of times you'll see people that are fleeing the scene or something like that, and they're trying to stop them. But again, they don't want to go as far as shooting them. So in that sense, it's a very good solution.
Well, it sounds, in theory, you can save a life by not having to discharge a firearm, and this would be a simple way to do it. But of course, there are problems with that. It's not a perfect world. Let's talk about people that actually, not law enforcement, that carry these things around with them. Do you have to have a permit to have one of these stun guns if you're a regular citizen?
You don't have to have a permit, and there are certain types of stun guns and different things like that, depending on what state you're in, that are not actually legal. And then other states have various levels. So if you want to try to go out and get a stun gun, a taser, you need to make sure that you look at what the laws are for your state, determine when you can have it, and also how you can go about carrying it, because it is a weapon in and of itself. You're right, though. Some people do carry that. Some people obviously carry pepper spray, but it's very important that you don't want to become a criminal in the sense that you're breaking the law by trying to protect yourself.
Well, that's the thing. They kind of market these things as a defensive weapon, especially for women. If you then do taser somebody, let's say an attack or something like that, can that person that's trying to defend themselves actually be charged with assault and battery with a deadly weapon?
Well, it's going to go down to what the circumstances are. I mean, clearly you can shoot another person if you have to. So whether or not you taser them or anything like that, if it shows that you're actually in imminent fear of harm, then you should be okay. But that's going to be something the police are going to look at very closely, because what they don't want is any kind of vigilante justice, whether it be from a taser or from a gun.
Sure. Of course, when in doubt, you don't want to get a situation with a private citizen with a taser or a law enforcement officer with a taser.
Best to avoid it if you can.
Yeah, just probably do what they say to do and don't get zapped. Indeed. David Aylor, thank you so much for the enlightening and electrifying conversation.
Thanks for having me. Hopefully we won't get tased this summer.
I hope not. Stay with us. We're back with more Low Country Live in just a moment.